Hello and welcome to Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION. We are talking about season 23, episode 11, Burning with Rage Forever.
Forever. Okay?
All right. I am Yael Tygiel. I am joined by my entire panel today. Hello, everybody. Taylor Gates is here. Hello, Taylor.
Hello.
Hello, and Felicia Michelle is here. Hello, Felicia.
Hi, guys.
I am so excited to jump into this episode. Again, season 23, episode 11, Burning with Rage Forever. Before we jump in, if you are new here, you might not know this, but sometimes this show gets dark, and when it does, we make light. So consider this your content warning. But also, if you are in a situation where you need help, please reach out to RAINN. Their number is 1-800-656-4673, 1-800-656-4673. What does that spell?
Oh,
Wow. It spells
You
hope.
didn't even say the full sentence. You just jumped the gun, and it doesn't count.
That's
It
how it
spells hope.
works. The gun has to be jumped. That's how it works. So you get the full thing out. That's how do I beat you if I say the full thing?
It's called
Anyway.
cheating, Felicia. It's called cheating. Anyway.
4673 does spell hope. Again, if you are in a situation where you need help, please reach out to RAINN. They have many wonderful services and are there to help. Before we jump into the main plot of this episode, I really would like to discuss the entire Noah storyline of this episode. I'm going to start by being on my best behavior today and say I love the storyline that we got with Noah. I have said before that this is the best Noah that we have had, and I
Yes.
stand by that. I want to give
Pun intended, yeah? You stand by that?
I do stand by that, yes. I want to give a shout out to Ryan Buell, who plays Noah, our current Noah, our best Noah we've had so far. And I have to say this because anyone watching this is losing their mind. Yes, I'm not a fan of children, but as of the end of this month, Noah is 12, or the actor is 12, and therefore he is moving into the teenage years, and I no longer dislike him.
I love that. Aw, he graduated from
Yes.
your hatred.
Not a child, he is a tween.
He's
I
a
don't
tween.
have a problem with tweens. I have a problem with children. So
Fair enough.
I really loved this. I want to start with the whole beginning scene where he was playing with Hudson, who we know is named after the university.
That's
The
what I'm
worst
saying. I was like, the vibes are already so off. If your name is Hudson, we know nothing good happens at Hudson. Nothing's gonna happen with you, Hudson.
No, he
I
kind
was
of reminded me of the
shouting.
character in Toy Story. Is that Randall in Toy Story? Is that his name? When he like destroys everything and he like puts the doll head on the thing, on the spider thing.
What
On
is
Toy
that character's name?
Story.
I know
Like
exactly
the
who you're
original
talking
one.
about.
I'm like
Yes.
myself, but he was like horrible. He just was like literally like a demonic kid, like serial killer in training, like predator in training. Like I'm
His
sorry,
name
Yeah.
is-
adults
This kid,
past bullying. Like we're past bullying.
this kid would be friends with the guy that drowned Snowball. I'm just gonna say it. Hudson and Henry would be besties. It
Yeah,
had to be said.
he
It had
probably
to be said.
sent the video to Henry. He probably was like, "Let me say in this video. This is so
That's what I'm
cool."
saying.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
The
I hate
kid from
it.
Toy Story is named Sid.
Sid. Okay.
Sid,
Who the frick is Randall?
I don't know.
the guy from Monsters Inc., right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's like just a terrible person. I just picked the first
Yeah.
character, like cartoon.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, that scene. I shouted at my TV profanities that I will not be saying because I'm on best behavior today. But I shouted WTF when Noah was in the cage.
Yeah.
I shouted WTF when he told him to eat the dog food. And then I shouted WTF when the mom said, boys will be boys, right?
How are
No.
you going to say that to Olivia Benson? Like,
Thank
I'm
you.
so sorry. You're an idiot. you're an idiot and you're the problem. You're why Hudson's like this, probably. Like, I'm not going to shame, but, like, sorry, if you're saying stuff like that, something's not right in this household.
Totally shamed. Like, it was very dismissive. I feel like that is such a weird scene. First off,
also, Noah's a boy as well. Like,
you're just not going to be in a room with a grown kid, a child. He's still a child, even though he's a teenager, but he's so much older than them. Why, as a parent, I'd be like, even if it was my own child, you don't need to play with them. They're little. And why is the door closed? I don't know about y'all, but that door was not closed at my house. It was not closed. It was a very open type of situation. If you had company or friends over, same sex, opposite sex, it was just, so it's just, the whole thing strikes me odd. I'm sorry. If I saw my child coming out of a cage, whatever room or space I was in would turn into an octagon and I would turn into an MMA fighter, because somebody better tell me a logical reason why, especially my child, why my little brown child is in a cage right now with a dog collar around his neck. Somebody better tell me something that makes the most sense of anything, or I'm hooking off on the mom. Like, I don't care. I'm beating her up. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, Olivia really, really restrained herself. I was surprised, actually.
I agree. Well, I agree with a lot of that. I think that, well, my house, doors were closed, didn't matter what, and doors were closed, whatever. We were a very free house. You could do whatever you wanted. But if my parents walked in and saw people in a cage,
I don't think it's about freedom. I think it's about transparency. And sometimes, like, we know that, kids perp each other. Sometimes kids, like even, we'll get to probably later, but one of the main characters there, he was a victim of sexual assault as a child and molestation. And it made him, it preceded a cycle. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it is. It's just that you just don't know. It's not about your privacy. It's about that transparency, so you can see it all, because your kid is still like figuring out the world. And sometimes if you think back to stuff maybe that happened when you were younger, like certain social cues you really didn't understand, or times that you're like, oh, that really wasn't okay for someone to say or do around me, in hindsight as an adult, and realize that. So it was more, I think, about just the transparency of it all. And, I know people very close to me that have been like victims of like assault and being molested. And when that happens, so the proximity to you, it makes it more real that that this could happen. So as a kid, I knew that these things could happen. So when my mom did things like that, I understood like it was about protection, because she had to have a conversation with me. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of weird to me that Olivia hasn't had, I don't know what conversation she's had with Noah. And obviously now we're seeing more dialogue and more of their one-on-one relationship, but it just seems odd that she has not told him, hey, that's kind of weird behavior. Like, even the little boy was like talking about good touches and bad touches, just, it was weird. It was very weird. And I don't think it's over. It can't be over. Can it be over? Is that just the end of it?
I assume
it can be, because this
Hudson
was not the best on continuity. But yeah, no, Hudson's for sure very sus.
I think
and I can see him coming back.
With the like Noah aspect of it. I think Hudson and Noah are not going to have another interaction. I could 100% foresee Hudson coming back in a different storyline.
Same. He's not well.
No.
Or maybe the mom even coming to Olivia like, I don't really know what to do because this thing happened and I don't know, or something like that. Because we oftentimes can see like how a situation in their personal life can become a case, even though they technically in real life wouldn't probably work on a case like that. Like, just because too close. But yeah. I could see that.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the last scene with Noah because this was a huge deal and we're very excited about it. Noah comes out as bi. I'm going to speak for us and say, welcome, Noah. We are so excited for you. And I love when he says, it's not like I have a boyfriend or girlfriend. Of course you don't. Child, you're 12. Calm down.
He's so cute. I just thought it was such a perfect way for it to happen, and the way that he just said it so casually, I think that's such a testament. I'm not saying the entire world is like that, because it's not yet, which is unfortunate, but I think we're slowly getting there in a lot of aspects, especially in a household like Olivia's is. I'm sure she's very supportive, and he just said it so chill, and she was so accepting and proud of him, and it made me tear up a little. It was really sweet.
It was a really touching moment, but like Taylor is saying, it's just cool that he said it so casually. And I've had this conversation with Yo before that it's like it just seems so unfair that someone has to someone is like, oh, you didn't tell me you were gay, or you didn't come out to me, or you didn't tell. Why is it anyone's business? Like, obviously that's something that you want to share personally, who you want to share it with, how you want to share it, but to just assume that every person who identifies as queer has to have a coming out story, a whole you don't have to say SHIT. You could just go on about your life and live your life. And and this is the testament to people that you're around. Say I just bring somebody around. If I were to bring somebody to the function with me and I said to y'all, oh, hey, here's my girlfriend, y'all wouldn't bat a lash. Y'all wouldn't think anything. Y'all might be like, Trick, you didn't tell us or whatever. But I think it make it as normal as possible. We talk about normalizing things, and this was like the most normal conversation that I've seen on a primetime drama about someone talking about their sexuality. So I don't know. Hopefully,
I love the way that it was approached. I love the way that he was like, I just, this is, and it was clear that it was like his first time saying it to somebody he cared about, right? Because he was saying it to his mom, and he knew that she would accept him, but it's always scary to say sometimes, and I think that it was just handled so beautifully because Benson is the person who will accept him, but also I'm sure he knows, Uncle Finn has Ken, and so I'm sure he grew up knowing Ken, and I'm sure he lives in New York, so I'm sure he knows lots of people, but like I think that there's just something really beautiful about the way he did it. I think, sometimes I feel like people don't come out till they have a partner and they want to be like, this is my partner. And that's how they come out. And I think that that is okay as well. As I've always said, come out when you're ready to who you want to. You never have to. And it's no one's business but your own. But when you do it, some people are going to get excited. And that some people is for sure me.
Yeah,
I'm excited for you.
Well, I guess they took Cat away from us, so they're like, "We're gonna give you some. We'll give y'all someone back. Here you go. Here's little Noah." Like, yeah,
the hero we deserve. Actually, the hero we don't deserve, but the hero we need.
Yeah.
Also, like when kids do things, kids always represent change. I think, why people who do like children, I know they like them because they view the world in the realm of possibilities of all the good things it can be. And we see Noah is sticking up for his friend and saying, this is okay. That's fine. It's fine. And it's fine because I'm bi. And so it's fine by me. And like, it's, so it kind of is inspirational watching it because it's like, oh, this kid is like sticking up and for someone and their pronouns, you see, we all have our pronouns on our names. Like it was a cool moment. It was like, I think pretty inspiring. And like, again, I said, I haven't seen many coming out line scenes on primetime dramas that are not traumatic.
Yeah. Sarah in the chat says, agreed, it was a nice conversation between the two of them. When I saw that ending, my first thought was, I bet Noah finally earned some points with Yael.
Me too, Sarah. I was like, wow, she might actually start to like this character again.
Noah definitely won me over. Noah, who is now entering his tween years, won me over. I'm very excited for more Noah stories if this is the direction we're going. As long as we're not going back to him being annoyed about, what was it? He hated olives in his food, and it turned out that it wasn't even about the olive. None of that. More of this.
Yeah, more dimension to his character, more, because it stretches Olivia too. It stretches her character, because now she's like, okay, my son just told me this. Oh my God, she was so proud of him, so happy that he felt comfortable and that he stuck up for somebody, and so it just expands her and all that Olivia is to this show, which is everything.
Yes. That is, I think we've talked about Noah enough. We can talk about the rest of the episode now.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you all think of the plot of this episode? Taylor?
Here's the thing. I was honestly, I was here for it except until we got to the twist of Carl. I was just like, for what? I don't know. It feels like we've kind of done the story before. Like, at least the part with Andre, like, we've kind of done all of it before, but I do feel like it was a little more interesting with, like, the gamer. Like, I just feel like that's just, like, kind of a trope that's interesting, and even though they always paint them in such a bad light, I feel like. But the fact that, like, oh, it's a cycle of abuse, like, I feel like we've just done that so much, and I didn't feel like it really was explained that well. So I was here for it until a point, and then that little turn happened, and I was like, I'm not really on board for it anymore.
It was strange because to go that long and to not offend, to not hurt anyone, to live in the house with a young kid, to not, and then it just, there, like Taylor said, there should have been more around that. I get it's a drama and it's not necessarily meant to educate people, but this show does play a role in educating people. So I just, it needed to have a little more breadth to that, to make that make sense. And yes, it did feel like we saw this.
It was two separate stories essentially that they just crammed together, and I was much more interested in the first one and continuing that, and then they just didn't. Like, it just went somewhere else.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is Chasing Demons, where we know exactly who the guy is who abused the kid, and now we have to figure out who went and attacked them. I was like, we've seen this one. And then I agree with you all. The twist, I was like, oh, interesting that Carlos abused Andre, but then I was like, wait, how did this? Oh, this isn't like a consistent thing. This happened afterwards. That's even weirder. And then for it to tie into the burning building at the beginning, which I only put together was going to be important because of the title of the episode, which was Burning with Rage Forever. So I was like, oh, okay, this has to do something with fire. And then I was like, oh, that's it. Seeing his death in the fire triggered this response. Oh, that's a choice.
Well, I think like that was the first trigger. So, right, we watched him come in, and then he left Tito there by himself, and he went to his girlfriend's, and he drank a lot. Like, he left and he drank, right? And then all this happens with his nephew, and like they said, they're calling him a hero. And so I think, I don't know, maybe even psychologically watch the fire happening and this teacher dying sparked something where he had to leave to get away from Tito and not be by himself with him. And then the fact that he's being hailed as a hero and all this, like, I think that's like kind of what they were getting at, that like all the teacher passing away, him assaulting, almost killing, a child molester, a pedo, and that everyone thinks he's a hero, but psychologically all these things are going on, and then he actually assaults, a kid. It was strange. I don't know.
I just don't. Here's the thing. I am sure that could be a trigger and would make sense, but in terms of narratively, I did not get how we got from that point to that point. Like, I just didn't get it. Like I said, like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen in real life. I'm sure it does, but this is a TV show, and I need more of an explanation, I think.
Like, if you start to offend, why is it a one-off? Why is it just this one-off?
And after, like, I don't know. I didn't understand how we got from point A to point B.
I agree with you, Taylor. Felicia, I think your thread is beautiful. I did not see that while I was watching it. I think you did great tying it together, because when I watched it, I went, how did we get from point A to point B? And the breadcrumbs that I think that you are giving us would have been helpful had they been acknowledged, or like if we'd seen some build. Upon rewatching a second time, the scene where Uncle Carlos is at Maya's place the first night drinking, and we meet Andre, and he's like, why do you come here? I'll read you the story. Even that didn't play like him trying to make a move on this kid. So I
did feel that was a weird moment. The story moment. The book is just right there. Like, there's nothing else in the living room, but there's just a book right there. Like, I thought that was so odd, and I knew something was gonna come back from that, because it was very strange.
That dirty ass living room, all them cans and stuff laying around, that thing was filthy. I was like, no, Andre don't need to go to bed. Y'all all need to pick up a broom and grab some trash bags, and y'all need to clean up around here, because this looks nasty. It looks like it doesn't look like it smells nice. Like, it looks nasty, all the open beer cans and stuff.
So I want to give out some shout outs because we need to. First of all, Velasco is back, and we'll talk about him in a second. But
Yeah.
I want to give some shout outs to the actor who played Carlos, which is Christian Navarro. I know him from 13 Reasons Why. I'm so excited to see him working. I also want to give a shout out to the woman who played Maya, which is Jamila Velasquez, who we've seen previously in a huge arc from season 14 and season 16. And for those of us who have been watching nonstop between those years and now, turns out that was many years ago. It was not last year.
It was 2 seasons ago. We swore it just happened.
Yeah, that was several years ago now, but
yeah. I was like, season 16, what? It's only it's season 23. My bad. Yeah, so amazing repeat offender there. I appreciate how quickly they let us know that she was not the same character, because I definitely was like, oh my God, is this the same character? No.
She has a very recognizable look. Like, she's very striking. So it's like you remember her, you know, like that's the type of face and the hair, just her voice, like everything. Because now I do remember that was a long time ago, because she got the guest spot on Law and Order, and around the same time she also got a guest spot on Empire, which was a huge show back then. You know, Empire came out a long time ago. So when I think about it now, I was like, oh yeah, it is a long time ago.
And our other big repeat offender who needs to be called out here is Slayer Kid's dad.
Stop.
Who was in Sugar. He was one of the geocachers.
Stop! You're so right. I love Sugar too, and I didn't even put that together. But oh my God, what a legend! Yeah. The geocachers. Wow.
You're welcome.
He loves his games.
He does. Yeah.
Wow, I have to watch Sugar today.
You're welcome.
So good.
You're welcome.
Sugarbaby.com.
I want to also discuss. Let's talk about Velasco and also Elvis. So Velasco, I understand his character. We have him ask 2 questions that pissed me off this episode. Question 1 was essentially, do we care who attacked the pedophile? You're a terrible cop, Velasco. And 2,
I didn't care.
I know we personally don't care as a police officer.
Yes. But I was like, he's right for that.
And the second question was when he questioned that Andre's mom just wants money.
Yeah,
Get out of SVU. Get out of SVU if you're going to ask that.
That was also a weird line, because I was like, are they going to go that route then? And then they didn't. They said it one thing, and then they never looked into it. I was like, okay.
I feel like Velasco's being set up to be like, kind of like Carisi was in the beginning, that we had to like teach him and he has to grow. I don't care. I don't want him to grow. I want him to leave.
Look, and also, like, he just doesn't pick up on social cues. Even when Andre and his mom got there, kids don't typically want to go to men first. Kids, I mean, if anybody who listens or watches the show or whatever, you're listening on iTunes, go ahead and give it 5 stars right now, because I'm sure that your kids will walk straight past the other person that created them, okay, and ask you for something, because kids just tend to naturally go to women, even when there are men around, even not in situations where they're in emotionally distraught or hurt, like just on the regular, because kids and society have really framed women to just be nurturers. Is part of that true? Yeah, but like dudes can do stuff too. But because we don't frame them that way, you know, we don't think about it that way. And he, idiot, sorry, I really don't like his character. He is not even thinking, I work in sex crimes. Most of the victims that come in have been attacked by men. And why would a victim want to go with me by themselves if we don't already have a rapport? Like, you thinking this little boy wants to go with you, and then like going like this when he doesn't. I'm sorry. I'm over it. Like every so often, you know, throughout the series, we have this one person that we have to teach them. We have to teach them. We have to teach. We know what it is. 20 plus seasons. Come on now. And the world is now catching up more with what sex work is. sex crimes, and just like that's opening up more. So the fact that he's ignorant about this is not the place to learn. Go to Hudson University and figure it out.
Wow.
Wow. I love that quote.
And just because he speaks a little Spanish here and there does not up the diversity for me.
I love it when they just throw in just random lines of Spanish, and then they say one thing, and then the other person doesn't even reply in Spanish.
This conversation you have in Spanish one.
Yeah.
Oh, hola.
Speaking
Stop.
of
Press the conversation in English.
Speaking of people we don't like, I would like to understand why Elvis Baktashi is there. I understand plot-wise he helped get money. I get it. My question is, why is this character still appearing on my screen? Anyone?
Crickets.
I guess the community aspect of it. You know, we've seen characters who are crusaders in their community. Like that's the only thing I could think of, is that we just know him as someone who is a figure and a leader in the community, and a lot of the backlash from how they were treating Carlos was coming from the community. So I feel like he was maybe used to represent how big it got, if it could get his attention and bring his level of support, like how many people will really champion for Carlos to be released and not be in trouble at all. So I thought that maybe they just did it so that we could see the reaction. It could make the reaction bigger, bringing him in. I don't really know what else it was for. I can't really think anything else, but I try my damnedest to come up with a good excuse for stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate your reasoning, because
I try.
You're right. We have had members of the community. Usually they are Reverend Curtis, played by Leslie Odom Jr. And to be honest, I would have
Sister
100%
Peg.
Understood. Sister
Rip.
Peg specifically was when we worked with sex workers.
R.I.P.
I miss her so much. But
Wrong.
I would have appreciated this storyline. Actually, would have been really beautiful with Reverend Curtis, having him there, especially because that's even more interesting, is to have a Reverend there defending this guy who attacked a guy. Like, I think that'd be so interesting. I don't care for Elvis. He, if I recall, runs a gang. And I don't know that we need him being a community leader on our show. I understood the last time we saw him, which was that they needed his help because it tied into organized crime, and that wasn't our problem, and I was totally cool with that. But I don't need him returning to our squad room and being part of the SVU narrative. I'm not a fan of his. I do not like him. He and Velasco can leave together, and they could take Chief McGrath with them.
I love it.
Bye. Bye, Felicia.
Not you saying that.
All right. Any other thoughts on the actual episode we want to talk about? Noah was the MVP. Agreed.
It's very true. The new lawyer guy was kind of interesting, who did time for assault, but then like read a bunch of books in the prison library and went to Cornell. I hope we see him again, because I was like, that's kind of out of nowhere.
I agree. I think that was very interesting. I would love some more explanation on. I could have sworn you can't practice law if you were a convicted felon, but I could be wrong. I mean, my law degree is only 23 seasons long, but
right.
I'm an expert in sex crimes and not much else, but only in the state of New York. So hopefully she's Googling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
ASMR with the tapping.
You keep tapping. Clickety clack.
Clickety clack, baby.
You can have your bar application denied for lack of positive moral character. So I guess criminal history could attribute to that.
But I guess if you
but yes, you can. A convicted felon can be licensed to practice law, but just not in all states.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for that. Look at this knowledge.
He's not one of them, so he could practice law in New York.
Thanks.
Yeah, anytime. The episode, I just want to say that I think, I don't care. This is my opinion. I feel like just what we talked about as far as Carlos becoming an offender, I just didn't like how that was really handled, because it also sets up in people's minds, it's a way to re-victimize a victim. Is to be like, oh, well, what if somebody tells me something like this, and someone can really take this and believe it and be like, oh, well, this happened to a person, and now that means they're gonna do it. Like that could just run through somebody's mind, and that could be it, because there was no explanation given. There was no really, the breakdown of psychology wasn't there, so that's the only part I'm just like, I really didn't like that. I thought that was like really irresponsible.
I totally agree. I could very much see that going the wrong way in the real world. I think the big takeaway for anyone who is listening and wants some more explanation and backstory on this, the big takeaway of this was how the grandmother didn't want them to seek help for it. And that is how you get this cycle to continue, is by not seeking help, not talking about it. There's a moment that like really struck me, which is when Tino's back and they're talking, and she says, what if he wants to talk about it? As though like that's bad. And I was like, this is a huge red flag we should be talking about. That like, if he wants to talk about it, then listen, also get him help. He should want to talk about it. Like, that is important for him to talk about what happened.
I do kind of like that they had that moment, though, because I think it is kind of interesting, like, to raise that point. I feel like we have a lot of, like, really extreme characters. Like, we have either parents who are not supportive of all, or we have really overbearing parents who want to talk about everything and, like, smother them. And I think this was a really human reaction in a way, because it's like, obviously I want him to be okay and to get help, but, like, I don't know how to talk to him about that. I don't know that I can, like, handle that and that I'm equipped. And I actually really like that we had that, because it felt really real and like something we haven't seen explored a lot.
Sure. I just wish it would be like, I wish it would have been more clear that that what we have been told and what we are seeing is, right, Carlos was molested as a child and never dealt with it. It triggered him, and therefore he continued the cycle of abuse. But Tino, if he were to get help, it is not likely that he will continue the cycle. And that the grandmother seems to be not a fan. I mean, later they talk about, did you talk to a social worker or something? And they're like, no, she doesn't believe in that. And that is a whole storyline that we should talk about. And I almost wish we would have discussed, like, the episode would have focused more on that, on like what happens when you don't deal with it, as opposed to, hey, this leads to cycles of abuse. Does that make sense?
Totally. I think I missed that, honestly. I think I like read that or interpreted it differently than you, and I think that yours is the correct way to interpret that. But I do think it'd be nice to see more characters like admit that they don't know how to help, because it's a complicated issue for parents to like help people.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I think that she was like, what if he wants to talk about it, because she doesn't know what to do. I think you're totally right. The solution, though, is not talk about it.
Right.
Refuse the help. It makes you kind of think like about Carlos's experience and why he maybe didn't say anything. So that's just really
And you're right, Taylor. That she very much felt like a real person. I think it's very common for people, especially older generations, to not want to talk about things like that. I think this is actually a really great episode to have both an older generation saying, I don't want to talk about it. Also, the mom at the beginning of Boys Will Be Boys, and then to have Noah, who's like, here's why this happened, is because this other kid uses they pronouns, and also I'm bi.
That's a really good point. They had a lot. They showed a really wide like spectrum of that, which was actually cool to see all in one thing.
Yeah.
I think it's like, it happens a lot. I don't know if y'all feel that way. It happens a lot to me, where I watch the episode and I'm like, I feel like there was like 15 minutes that was cut out of this to make it an hour. And if that 15 minutes or those different scenes were in it, I feel like this will be a totally different kind of episode for me. But I understand, shoot, if anybody understands being on a time schedule for a show, it's me. It's your girl. I understand. I've been cut off on live TV. Like, I get it. I understand but it's just the subject matter, sometimes. But I feel like we'll see Hudson again, a little badass. And I feel like they'll be around again and being despicable, because he's cruel. And that level of cruelty is it's not normal. It's not like, oh, kids are just being kids and these are just bullying. I might have been like Did I ever? No, I was bullied. I was bullied, but I mean, I don't. I was like, what did I say? Not bully people, like. But I don't. I never, as a kid, thought in my rational mind to physically put someone in a cage or to put a dog collar around them. Now, I might have locked someone out before, but what
I want to say, this is random, but I am. It's probably not the case. However, they did have an exact scene where they're talking about someone doing this in Succession. Like pretending that a kid's dog. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I was like, that's where mine went first. I said someone's been watching a little too much Succession and got some info.
The recording is what got me, because where is it at? What other kids have you recorded? What other things you make other kids do? Your sister looks terrified of you. Your sister looks scared of you.
I'm telling you, it's Born Psychopath Part 2. Like, well, we've already had a Part 2. It's Born Psychopath, the reboot or the sequel. I don't know, but this is not okay. Yeah.
Here's what I'll say, because I like where both of your heads went to different places. My head also went to a different place. Because here's the thing, and as we know on this show, sometimes the show has people who are into BDSM and it is not addressed or discussed or taught in any way. And I think that one of the things that could have been opened up in this discussion is about collars. And I think that is something that could have been, look, guys, I'm just saying, and
they're not going to talk about that.
I'm aware that they're not. I'm just saying that in a show that has people, literally, you have victims who are into BDSM, or you have victims who are murdered and then put into positions, and people are like, see, they're into crazy things. And I think that if there was a better discussion about BDSM, then we wouldn't have this stigma about these topics or taboo things. And I understand that they're children, and I just want to.
Yeah, I don't think that's what this was, though.
Well, you went to Succession.
Y'all said there's more work to be done. There's more work on the table. Like,
no, here's the thing. I agree with you. I just don't think that this is where their minds are. I think this kid is just insane. Like, and
I'm sure, but I think that it would have been a really amazing opportunity to address this topic, because it'll help. Look, maybe it'll help Hudson deal with whatever issues he is dealing with, and help him open up and realize that people are into different things and that is okay, right? Like, people being bi is okay. Like, there is a whole discussion that could have been brought about, and instead of like shaming him, you got to give compassion and see where he's coming from and what is triggering it.
Crazier than a soup sandwich. You gonna sit here? Then we gotta show compassion to the serial killer in training. It's too late for him. He's too old. It's broken.
Okay.
No. Here's the thing. I know what you're saying, and I know where your head's at. I'm not confident the SVU writers wrote that with that intention in mind. I think it's like, what's a creative way we can bully this kid that's like a lot like humiliating and just off the walls. That's what I think. But you are correct. I'm gonna be honest. You are correct. But I just don't think that's where the show is coming from,
I'm sure it is not. I'm saying that I think that this would have been a beautiful place to take the conversation.
No. This is not the place. It's not the time. It's not the episode. I do agree that they need to not kink shame as much as they do, because it's not fair. And you just make it seem like when someone has quote unquote deviant behavior in the bed, then they have deviant behavior outside and low moral character. And that's just not it. It's just maybe the way that the neurons in their brain are connected, they wear their scarf and they be choking themselves out. I don't know, like whatever they do, there's no kink shaming. But this not this episode, yo. I love you, but not this one.
Look,
I think this is all very fair points.
All right. Before we get into best lines, I see we have someone new in our chat asking a question. John Knight, welcome, John, asks, who's your favorite SVU character? Now, I think that is like, for people with children, I think it is like asking them who their favorite is. And I'm sure that they have one, but it's hard to define. So who's your favorite SVU character? I'm going to narrow it to this episode. Who is your favorite character in this episode? That way we can come up with an answer. I'm going to say something shocking and say that my favorite character in this episode was Noah.
That's fair.
I can't believe it.
Glad I'm already sitting down. I'll be on the ground.
I never thought this day would come. Well, I'm sure he would become an adult at some point, but
In this episode, he was barely there, but I'm just going to say in general, he's one of my favorite characters. Is Finn Tutuola is like one of my favorites because he always has the one-liners. Barely. Look, if he was in the credit, he was in the episodes, he was in the little credits, so I feel like that's enough. He was like barely around, but Finn is my favorite, and then Warren.
Yeah, that's fair.
Belinda always, like, I just am so impressed by her as an actress because all of those medical terms and stuff, that's really, really hard to say. And she just, the execution, the representation, the commitment her character has to, you know, these crimes, she takes it very personally. So she's my favorite, I guess, overall. And plus, you know, her curls be popping, my curls be popping.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, I'm gonna be basic and say Libby Benson because, like, that's the obvious, easy answer that no one has said yet. So thanks for saving that for me.
Like, obviously, we knew that, no?
Right, but I will say, if I have to pick a second, listen, I love Rollins, and I know that's a controversial statement, but I've really been liking her lately too. I mean, she's getting like well, I don't know. She has a lot of ups and downs. Like, let's be honest. I'm like, oh, she's getting really good. I don't know. She's probably gonna have some crazy thing happen to her next week, and it's gonna blow it all up. But I have loved her since day one. Like, she has some personality. She is not afraid to just say what she thinks, even if it's wrong. I don't know. I respect it, and I really like her. So I'm gonna say
she was a great victim too. By the way, when she first appeared on the show, her like, I was like, oh my gosh, and she can act.
Yeah.
Yes, she's.
Really,
I really like her.
I mean, I have to also give a shout out to Kat, whom I miss so much.
Yeah. Well, if we're going older characters, like, I want Casey Novak back so badly.
We know.
I love her. She's maybe my second favorite character on the show.
I love that. Okay. Shall we get into best lines?
Yeah, I don't actually have that many this week.
Oh, I have one, and it's beautiful.
Okay, I'll go first. I have none because my favorite character, Finn Tutuola, who is the comic relief, oftentimes this episode was really not there, so I really didn't have any because I'm like, they're all sad. The only moment that I could say like really stuck out was when Rollins is talking to Olivia and she says, "Do you ever wonder if we're missing anything?" And I was like, yeah, when she walked in, her like he was still out of the cage. Yes, y'all do miss stuff. Yes, you do miss stuff. Yeah, and Rollins, yes, you definitely miss things. I can't imagine. We need to bring her girls in because I'm sure they have a story to tell about that house. I'm sorry. I want to hear from them.
It's got to be a chaotic house.
Those girls, when they're teenagers, that's going to be such a mess, and I cannot.
That's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see Rollins be a mom to teenage girls. That's just going to be so
when
good.
Aunt Kim comes to town, ooh, what a nightmare those kids will be.
I'm ready.
Okay. My best line for this episode is, "There is no shame in being true to yourself."
Oh.
Yes.
Rare, but I have a touching line.
Yeah.
All right, Taylor.
I only have two, but I thought it was very odd, and that's why it's a favorite line, because it's just an odd line to me, where they're looking for where Tino is, and I think it's Carlos or the dad, I don't remember, who says, "I'm gonna go look for him at the playground." Like, what would he be doing at the play? Like, he's a gamer. Like, he's not going to the playground in the middle of the night. Like, I thought that was so strange. I was like, okay, like, why did you add at the playground after?
This is an indoor child. He's not outdoors.
He's not at the playground at midnight. Like, he's just not. But I was like, okay. And then I love a revenge story sometimes. I'm glad they stabbed Teddy. I'll say it. And he said, "I screwed up. I shouldn't have left until I was sure he bled out." And I said, "That's facts, honestly."
Yep.
So I thought that was good. Like, despite everything, I don't blame him at all for what he did.
I mean, look, Stabler used to talk about how much he wants to murder pedophiles, and not one of us went, "Oh no."
No. I also, okay, this isn't a line, but this is a part. This is, okay. So we had this whole thing where Teddy is like defending all of his actions. Why don't we get to see that in court? Because they're not good defenses, but like the jury could be stupid enough to believe it. And I wish that we didn't get any closure on that. And that's frustrating, especially the weird part about like, oh yeah, he asked me to tie him up because that's what happens in the game. Like, I love it when it gets meta like that, and I thought that was the dumbest thing to say, but I would have loved to have seen how a jury would have reacted to it.
He made my stomach hurt. I was kind of overseeing him because it was the laughing, it was the joke of it, and that's sick because normally we see our perps like denying it, being in denial and being dismissive and like, you know, just like, you know, and he like he found joy, like he was really happy and giddy, and it made my stomach hurt. Like,
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. We didn't even get to see that play out. Like, he just disappeared, and that's like an insane villain to just.
He should have got beat up in jail. They
should have died for sure, but.
They beat up child molesters in jail. He should have looked worse than that when we saw him. He should have been fucked up. I mean, effed up.
I also want to throw out one more line because I forgot how funny it was when he said, "Oh, I'm Slayer Kid's dad."
Yes.
What's your child's name then? What's his name?
He's just
What's Slayer Kid's name?
Dad. Whatever.
Also, it's one more thing. These grown people are still talking to kids online. Like, this is not a thing that stopped happening in the early 2000s or in the 90s. Like, it continues to happen. That's why Chris Hansen will always have a job, and it'll be 1,001 episodes of To Catch a Predator, because people really do talk to kids online. Like, so you like really have to be like, tell them like, yo, adults are deceptive. You don't know who you're talking to. Like,
Felicia, you're 100% correct. And this is something that I think we've talked about before, was how early on in the internet age, we were always taught to never meet anyone you met on the internet. And the truth is that if you watch early seasons of the show, there are lots and lots of episodes about that. But as the world has changed, a lot of people actually have met and made friends and built communities. And I know that literally this fandom is people, I was trying not to call you out, Taylor, but there she is.
It's true, though. It is true.
Who have made actual lifelong friends through strangers on the internet. And I think that it's such a blurred line. I think one of the like weirdest things people post about is how growing up, we were told to never meet anyone on the internet. And now we use our phone to tell them where we live and then get into their car.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird world we live in. And I appreciate that we're discussing it. I kind of wish there was more about that in this episode, in that like we see it, he's talking to someone online and then meets him and it's an adult and he kidnaps him and assaults him and whatever. But like, let's talk about the fact that kids today are not exactly told not to do that.
The lines are blurred, very blurred. You know, you date on apps, you get, someone goes and picks up your groceries and you let them drop them off to your house where you know where you live, and it's a blurred line. But I used to work with kids like as like my full-time jobs, like, right, and they would talk about gaming, and I'm like, you never know.
What did you do with kids?
I used to be an admin to the principal at the middle school, and then I would leave the middle school and I would go work at Boys and Girls Club. So I was like with kids all day basically.
That
and
sounds miserable.
No, it was great. Kids stretch you. Kids make you have to deal with yourself. But I told them, like, think about this logically. Why would somebody so much, if you're 12, right? Do you want to hang out with somebody who's 8? No. So why does a 16-year-old want to hang out with you? You can't be friends right now. When you're 20 and they're 24, you can be friends. When you're in high school, you're freshman and senior, you could be friends then, but you don't want to do it. Like, that's not okay. Like, just trying to explain to them, because kids are like, oh, everybody's my friend. Oh, you're my friend. And once you hear the word friend, like, you think you know somebody. And let me tell you something, everybody's your friend. Okay. They're not. So tell your kids to learn how to categorize. Y'all are my friends.
Are we friends?
I got real scared.
You're like,
I thought we just got broken up.
You were like,
yeah, I was like, I'll cry on air.
The island. No, y'all still on. Y'all still there.
Thank God.
Okay. Let's move along to the weekly poll. Taylor, take it away.
Yes. We asked you guys last week when we were talking about Silent Night, Hateful Night. Oh, I'm like very big now. Okay. what your favorite Declan Murphy episode was. There are several of them. Coming in at last place was just the other option. But someone said Postmortem Blues after Lewis is dead, which is a very good episode. In third place, we have Silent Night, Hateful Night, which is what we talked about last week. In second place, we have Undercover Mother, a great episode. And in first place, thank you guys so much for not letting me down. You guys pulled through and made Gambler's Fallacy first place where it belongs. So I very much appreciate all of you doing that for me personally. I'm going to say that was a favor. And I thank you for that. This week...
Wait, I'm just realizing one that I didn't write in and now I'm sad.
Well, tell us.
Okay, you'll remember what it's called. It's the one with the photographer who wants to skin little boys. The guy from Scandal's in it. Amaro beats the crap out of him.
Click away because I don't remember right now.
I think it's Amaro's something.
Okay.
No, it's the one before Amaro's something. Whatever. It doesn't
matter. What is this?
Something.
Thought Criminal. Thought Criminal is what it's called.
Yeah, that one's so good.
We got there. Yes, there are a lot of good ones with him in it actually, but you didn't write it in, so you
I didn't. My bad. Sorry. My mistake. Go on.
This week we are asking everyone what your favorite episode with gamers is, because there are so many of them. First, we have Avatar, which is season 9, episode 2. It's hard to explain that one. Go ahead and explain it.
Is this not the one with Second Life?
Is it? Yes, it is. Is this Turn Up the Sun, or is that a different one?
I think it is Turn Up the Sun.
Okay. Yeah.
Where this girl is kidnapped because she looks like, or because her avatar is a schoolgirl, and it turns out it's that's such a good one.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I was like, I just hard to put into words unless I have, Next we have Bullseye, which
God. So this is the one where the parents are watching.
Yes.
They're playing video games, and the daughter is being held in the closet.
Yep.
And then it turns out that her mom was hit by a bus and doesn't recognize her face, but only recognizes her voice. It's a fascinating condition. Anyway, I love that episode.
I do too. That's the one that made me think of this poll, because I was like, oh, that scene is so iconic. Because the acting is really good in that episode, I will say too. I really, that hurts my heart whenever I see that one. Next we have Intimidation Game, which I know Yael also loves. This is the Gamer Game episode, which is very polarizing. People hated this, but Yael loves it.
I loved it. Also, I gave it 2 votes already.
Yael, you can't cheat.
Look, I gave it my 1 vote, and then FANVERSATION also voted because I wanted to see it at the top.
No. We are all FANVERSATION. We should have had a poll, and then to know who FANVERSATION votes for.
She was going to use the after leverage. I was like, she probably used the after leverage account to add another vote. That's going to be 3 votes.
But here's the thing: when I did it, I got it. I had 100% with 2 votes, and then other people voiced opinions. But go on.
That's so. I think it's in the lead. No, it's in second place right now. We'll see how it turns out.
Look, I knew it wasn't going to win. I just wanted it to have a fighting chance.
That's fair. I just love it because every time I Google that, it has it literally has.
Yeah.
No, it has a 2 out of 10 on IMDb. People hate this episode more than any other episode that's ever been produced. But you're a fan, and I respect that. And then we, of course, have Burning with Rage Forever, which we talked about today, which is currently in the lead, which is a little surprising, but we'll see how that shakes out on next Sunday, and we'll tell you where to find the poll.
Usually the new episode is never in the lead. Usually the new episode is
I know! I mean, we only have 11 votes, and 2 of those are Yael's, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out.
In the chat, I play softball. Says, which one was the one the lady gamer got kidnapped? That is Intimidation Game.
Yeah.
And you're welcome. It's in the running. It is not last place yet.
I need to watch that again. I haven't watched that in a minute.
It's so good. And the woman who played Raina Pujabi is the Mama Naomi on CW.
Oh, very cool. What's up?
She's working.
It's good to see people working. It's very good to see people working. So when we talk about repeat offenders or where we see them at, because we all talk about TV, we're just happy. That's why.
It's true.
Not that we do sometimes, but we just really enjoy seeing people work.
Yeah. I also want, like, when the show ends in like 50 years, like in a long time in the future, like I'll be so curious to see who the biggest repeat offender is, like in how many episodes they'll have. Because there's people with like 6, aren't there? There's people who've been on so many. And it has to be different characters. I can't have an arc. Like I want them to be separate character every time.
Well, I mean, the girl played Maya as a repeat offender. She did an arc, and now she's a new character.
Yeah, but I love the people who are just like on every season as just like someone new. I love it so much.
There's the guy who had the like earwax issue.
Yes.
In what episode? He's in like a bunch of episodes.
That's what I'm saying. I think we talked about him, and he was like 5 or 6, and I'm like, that's crazy. That's more than a lot of like the recurring people.
They like to work with the same people. Like it's very clear that is just production wise how they like to operate. You know, it's at this point 20 plus seasons. Like you got to think this really is a machine that is running a certain way, and you want to bring people around who understand the mechanisms because y'all don't have time to teach, not on this set. Everyone that works so fast. So it makes sense that you would bring in someone that's either really experienced and an actor, or they already know the flow. They already know what's happening here.
Very true.
Totally. All right. And now the segment we all forget about. What did we learn?
I'll go first. I learned that Noah's bi.
Yeah.
I was going to take that one from you guys because that's the only one I could think of. That's what you get for trying to one-up me when it spells hope, Felicia.
I only do it because it incites anxiety. I sometimes do it, I sometimes don't.
And you know what that does to me? It makes me burn with rage forever, okay?
Good, you're thinking about me. What did I learn? I learned I really miss getting on Taylor's nerves.
Cool. Love that lesson that we've all been taught this week.
I guess, I don't know. I learned that if you're going to stab somebody, you better wait till they bleed out and die before you leave.
All right, Ghostface, chill out. Scream 5 villain right here on the call.
Wait till they're dead and then you can leave.
I love it.
No pulse.
Thanks, Felicia.
No problem.
What did I learn? If you're in the chat and you learned something, please let us know. We'd love to know what you learned, either from us or from the show.
I hope it's not from us. God, I can't imagine what we're teaching you all.
Here for lessons. I don't know, honey.
I can't imagine what we're teaching you all.
We're teaching everyone that we don't kink shame.
That's true. Okay, say that. Make that work somehow.
There should have been more exploration into young Hudson's.
Look, that's not what I'm saying, but okay. I learned my best line is going to be what did I learn? There's no shame in being true to yourself.
Yes, I love that.
That should be on a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
It should be our merch.
That's about to become our new merch. Guys, everybody, we are announcing new merch.
Oh, that's cute, actually. I would wear that a lot.
Well, there was also no shame in that plug. Go on, Yael, tell us more.
Yeah.
Good segue, Felicia.
Felicia's the queen of segues.
She really is.
There is a link in the bio to buy random weird merch that we make for this show. We are not intending to make money off it. We are intending to be amused. So feel free to get yourself a Slammin' Paragene onesie for your offspring, or a Justice for Snowball pillow, because poor Snowball. Also, I want to get one of that Hudson, you Hudson thing that you said earlier.
Thank you. I was actually extremely, and I thought of that on the spot. That was not premeditated. So that's like, my brain was big in that moment.
Quality. I loved it.
Thank you so much.
Let's see. Sarah says, I learned to really monitor kids when they game online or have play dates or go to Hudson or basically anything.
Such a good point.
100%.
Watch your kids, people.
Yeah.
Hide your kids, hide your wives, and hide your husband.
Stop. What a throwback.
I Play Softball asks, great question. Do you think Calvin will ever come back?
I would love for him to, because he came
Does
back for
anyone
like 3 seconds.
Who he is?
Of course.
Calvin.
You don't remember Calvin?
No,
Calvin,
I do.
The little boy?
Oh.
Calvin's the little boy, the Maria Bellows character's kid.
Yeah.
I would love for him to.
Well, he would be way older. He'd be a full adult now. Like
exactly. And so Yael would be fine with it.
Put him on the squad. Put him on the squad. Bring him in.
That would be iconic.
Maybe he's a beat cop because he was really into Olivia being a cop. And remember when he drew the picture of her, he drew her like in a proper police uniform, and Liv doesn't even wear like a police uniform. So
and he also thought that she and Dana Lewis were dating. Yeah. And they should have.
Thank you for that.
I mean, he's an icon for that. He was.
Sarah says it would be interesting for Calvin to meet Noah.
I agree. He was, how old would he be? Because it's funny, because would he be old enough to actually be on the squad? Because I'm now just thinking of that story of the kid who wasn't old enough to be a cop, but then
love that episode.
Me Too with Sharon Stone, right? And I think it's called Wannabe. And he just really, that was an out-of-pocket story, but one that I really like and would love to see it play out again. I don't even care. Copy paste it with Calvin, like, because
he'd probably be old enough to like go through like the academy and like be a cop, but like to, like a detective like them, I don't think he'd be old enough to go through that whole process, unless he's like a really, really young detective and he just was like an all-star and accelerated. But like, I don't know. I would like to see him as a beat cop on the street, just run into like Olivia.
I'm sure there's fanfic of this.
It's me, Calvin.
Yeah, there is too.
Calvin?
I'll look for it tonight.
Well, this fanfic's about to exist.
You can take that. You ain't got to give me no credit. You can have that, baby. You can take that.
Thank you so much.
Name a character, Felicia. All right. Well, with that, so it seems like we have an episode on January 20th, which is this week. And then there is a break for basically a month until February 24th, when there'll be a new episode because of the Olympics. So that's what's happening with us for the next month or so. But until next week when we return, Felicia, where are you on the internet? What are you up to these days?
I was just dissatisfied with the fact I got to wait an entire month for this stuff to come back on. But anyway, you can find me on the internet at It's Felicia Michelle. All my work and stuff is there. I don't know. I'm working a lot and I can't run down the list of everything because like I just don't have time. But if you want to find out, like you can go there. And I know I'm not selling myself really well, but I feel like if you go to my page, it'll just like tell you what I do because like all my pictures are there and like then you can find out.
That's fair.
I love it. Tease them a little mystery. You guys can find me and the poll on Twitter at _and.
Harder than it looks, huh? Uh-huh.
It is. I knew it would be, but that's why I watched you because I was trying to learn and practice it. You guys can find me there. You can also find me on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_. I write for a site called Show Snob where I'm talking Yellow Jackets, which you guys should all be watching that. It's absolutely wild. And yeah, that's what I'm doing basically. And talking SVU, of course. The best of all.
Awesome. I am everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That is YAELTYGIEL. You
didn't do the whole.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Nope.
You did it perfect.
Thanks. I do this a lot. It's backwards. Where else can you find me? Me and Felicia have a show, the official Leverage Redemption After Show, a very distinctive podcast, only on the Electric Now app, so you can check that out. It is free. And you should watch Leverage Redemption and then watch the after show. Unlike this show, you kind of have to watch it to understand what we're talking about. Whereas this show, you don't have to watch it and you'll still get something out of it, I hope. Also, I want to say, all right, I want to say really a big congrats to Noah for coming out. I think that's wonderful. And congrats to Ryan for turning 12 at the end of this month and not being an annoying child anymore. Yeah.
What a birthday wish.
Yeah. If you're listening to us on iTunes, please rate and review us. If you like us, 5 stars. If you don't like us, 4 stars. The other stars still broken stars. Leave us a comment. Let us know what we can improve if you give us 4 stars. Let us know what you love if you give us 5 stars. Check out merch links in all the descriptions. And if you're on Spotify watching us, hello. That's it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week for more S Review. Bye.